Okay, let us continue with your intestinal flukes. Let us begin with your Fasciolopsis busci. Okay, now your Fasciolopsis busci is said to be the largest intestinal fluke. Okay, and then this fasciolid digenetic trematode is a parasite of the intestines of the human and pigs. Okay, so a definitive host ng Fasciolopsis busci natin are the humans and pig. Okay, now Fasciolopsis busci can be acquired through ingestion of encysted metacercaria on the aquatic plants. Okay, and then this viable metacercaria will undergo excistation once na ma-ingest yan ng definitive host natin. It will undergo excistation in the duodenum, and will attaches itself to the intestinal wall where it becomes sexually mature in about 3 to 7 weeks. Now, the ova of Fasciolopsis busci appears to be large with a small operculum, and it has a clear, thin shell that resembles like a hen's egg. Okay, it resembles like a hen's egg, and then the ova of this parasite is usually immature when being passed out in the feces. Okay, and then it usually takes around 3 to 7 weeks, okay, to undergo embryonation. Okay, it usually takes about 3 to 7 weeks before it becomes fully developed into miracidium. Okay. Now, as for the adult forms, as compared to Fasciola hepatica egg and Fasciola gigantica, it does not have a cephalic cone. Wala siyang cephalic cone. Okay. It does not have a cephalic cone. Now, the adult form, it is usually thick and flesh-colored adult worm. Okay, the cuticle is covered with transverse row of spines. Okay, and then the vitellaria is highly branched and located lateral to the cecum. Okay, now for the testis is dendritic or highly branched. Okay, and in tandem position at the posterior half of the worm. Okay, and then as for the ovary is usually branched. The ovary is branched and located at the middle part of the body. Now, let us go over with the life cycle of your Fasciolopsis busci. Okay. Now, when immature ova are being passed out in the feces in the water, it will undergo embryonation. Okay? It will undergo embryonation that gives rise to miracidium. Okay? And then, this usually takes around 3 to 7 weeks, diba? As I mentioned a while ago. Now, this miracidium then seeks out and infect its first intermediate host. Okay, so lalabas yan yung miracidium natin. It will swim freely, magsiswim yan. Okay. Your miracidium, it will seek out for its first intermediate host snail belonging to the genus Segmentina and Hipputis. Okay, ito yung mga first intermediate host natin for Fasciolopsis busci. Your Segmentina and Hipputis snails. Okay? Now, once na makapasok na yung miracidium natin sa ating first intermediate host, once inside the snail, this miracidium will transform into a sporocyst. Okay? Magta-transform yan into sporocyst. Okay? Now, this sporocyst will subsequently produces two radial stages, your mother radiae and daughter radiae. Okay, and then finally, it will develop into cercaria. Okay. into radial stages. Okay? And then it will transform finally into cercaria. Now, this cercaria will leave the daughter radii and it will undergo further development in the snail tissues. Okay? And then usually after 7 weeks, the cercaria will emerge from the snails into the water. Okay? So, lalabas siya sa snail natin usually after 7 weeks. Okay? And then that is the time now, hahanapin niya na ngayon yung kanyang second intermediate host. Okay? Your cercaria will attach themselves and will undergo encystation. Okay? Transforming now into metacercaria. This time, nasa loob na sila ng kanilang second intermediate host. Okay? Second intermediate host, which is now your aquatic plants such as your water chestnut, lotus plant, water hyacinth, water bamboo, and the very most common here in the Philippines is your Trapa bicornis. Trapa bicornis is a water caltrop. Okay? Now, these plants will serve as the second intermediate host of the parasite. Okay? Now, once na ma-complete na yung development into metacercaria, this is now the infective stage of this parasite, ready now to infect your definitive host. Okay, so ready na siyang makapag-infect ng definitive host, your metacercaria. Now, this parasite, it usually inhabits the small intestine, sometimes the large intestine, and even the stomach. Okay, now the pathological changes caused by these parasites are traumatic, usually obstructive, and toxic. Okay, now the inflammation and ulceration that occurs at the site of worm attachment, okay, producing now an increased mucus secretion and minimal bleeding. Okay, now in cases of heavy infections, the worms may cause intestinal obstruction. Okay, and then intoxication results from the absorption of worm metabolites by the host. Okay, now the patient may experience generalized toxic and allergic symptoms such as edema in the face, okay, facial edema, edema in the extremities, and even in the abdomen. Okay, now this profound intoxication can actually result to death. Okay, now for the laboratory diagnosis, let us go over with the laboratory diagnosis of your Fasciolopsis busci. Okay, what are the lab methods that we can use for the diagnosis of your Fasciolopsis busci? Okay, now the diagnosis can be made possible by detection of parasite eggs pa din. Okay, so ang pinaka the best dyan is still direct fecal smear examination. Okay, pwede tayong gumamit ng stool sample or pwede rin tayong gumamit ng vomitus sample. Okay, possible din tayong gumamit ng vomitus sample for the detection of Fasciolopsis egg. Okay, now you should always consider the resemblance between your Fasciolopsis eggs and your Fasciola eggs. Okay, so take note na lang yung difference nila. However, mahirap kasing i-distinguish yung itsura ng kanilang eggs, kaya ang pinaka-the best pa din dyan is patient history. Okay, and then as for the treatment of Fasciolopsis infection, okay, drug of choice pa din natin would always praziquantel. Okay, and then for the prevention and control of this parasite is of course eradication of the intermediate host, yung mga snails natin. Treatment also of night soil containing eggs, and avoid eating raw aquatic plants. Okay. Okay, and then next we have your Echinostoma ilocanum, okay, also known as your Garrison's intestinal flu. Okay, now these are digenetic trematodes characterized by a collar of spines that are usually located around their oral suckers. Now, there are several types or several species rather that can infect human. Okay? Now, there are 2 species that have been documented here in the Philippines. Okay? So, maraming species yan, yung echinostoma natin. However, meron tayong mas common na species dito sa Pilipinas lang makikita. Okay? Now, that is your Echinostoma ilocanum and your Artifechinostomum malayanum. Okay, so these 2 species are the most common parasite of echinostoma that are found here in the Philippines. Okay, o diba ang gulo? Okay. Okay, now these parasites can be acquired through ingestion of infected snails. Okay, so ang first intermediate host natin dito is your snail. Okay, and then for second intermediate host is snail pa din. Okay? O wag na kayong malilito doon. Snail lang din ang kanilang second intermediate host. Okay? Of course, harboring the infective stage metacercaria. Okay? Now for the ova of your Echinostoma ilocanum, okay, the egg is usually straw-colored, operculated, and ovoid in shape, measuring about 83 to 116 micrometer by 58 to 69 micrometer. Okay? Okay, and then as for the adult form of Echinostoma ilocanum is usually elongated. Okay, the adult form is usually elongated and then reddish gray in color, with 49 to 51 horseshoe-shaped collar of spines surrounding the dorsal and the lateral sides of the oral sucker. Okay, again, it has a 49 to 51 horseshoe-shaped collar of spines surrounding the dorsal and the lateral sides of the oral sucker. Okay, now the oral sucker, it lies in the center, and the ventral sucker is situated at the anterior fifth of the body. Okay. Okay, now the 2 testes are bilobe, okay, arranged in tandem at the 3rd quarter of the body. I believe that is in your handout. Okay, and then the ovary is globular in shape, which is located just in front of the anterior testis. Now, let us go over with the life cycle of your Echinostoma ilocanum. Okay, now this parasite, it usually inhabits the small intestine of its definitive host. Ang definitive host niyan is humans, of course, domesticated animals also like dogs, cats, and even the rats and pig. Okay, again, the definitive host of this parasite are the humans, domesticated animals, okay, rats, and pigs. Okay, now here in the Philippines, the first intermediate host, okay, i-present ko lang, the first intermediate hosts are those of the genus Gyrolus. Ito yung mga first intermediate host natin. Okay, the genus Gyrolus, yung mga snail natin. Hipputis also. Limnea and Fasadi. I believe that is in your handout also. Limnea and Fasadi. While the second intermediate host snail are Pila luzonica. Pila luzonica or common name, ito yung tinatawag nating kuhol. Okay. Pila luzonica, kuhol. Diba kinakain yan? Masarap yan pag ginataan, class. Okay. And then next we have your Vivipara. Vivipara angularis. Also known as your susong pampang. Susong pampang. Susong pampang. Okay. Now, the life cycle of the Echinostoma ilocanum, okay, it begins when these immature eggs, okay, when these immature eggs are being passed out in the feces and released into the water. Okay, and then it usually takes around 6 to 15 days. It usually takes around 6 to 15 days before mag-undergo yan ng embryonation, developing into miracidium. Okay? So, once na mag-develop na yan into miracidium, again, mag-hatch yan, and then it will swim freely, seeking now to its first intermediate host. Okay? Now, from there, it will now be infecting its first intermediate host. Okay? Now, once na makapasok na yan sa kanyang first intermediate host, okay? Once na nasa first intermediate host na yan, this miracidium will undergo development into 2 radial stages na naman. Okay, your mother radiae and your daughter radiae. Forming now a sporo that will, 2 radial stages that will subsequently producing now daughter sporocyst. Okay, daughter sporocyst. Okay, daughter sporocyst, and then finally into cercaria. Developing now finally into cercaria. Now, this cercaria will then emerge, lalabas yan sa kanyang first intermediate host. It will emerge and escape from its first intermediate host, then swims freely into the water. Babalik yan sa tubig. Okay, seeking now out to infect its second intermediate host. Hanapin niya yung kanyang second intermediate host. Okay? Okay? And then transforming now into metacercaria. Okay? It will undergo transformation into metacercaria. And then this metacercaria will now be the infective stage for the definitive host. Okay? Infective stage. Now, in heavy infections, the inflammation usually develops at the site of attachment of this adult worm to the intestinal wall. Okay? Ulceration is also common. Abdominal pain and even bloody diarrhea may also develop. Okay? Now, the absorption of metabolites of the worms may result in general intoxication. Okay? Yon. So, yon for the clinical manifestations of Echinostoma ilocanum. Okay, so common mga ulceration, abdominal pain, bloody diarrhea, and etc. Okay, now for the laboratory diagnosis, okay, again, diagnosis can be made by direct examination pa din. Okay, for lab diagnosis, direct fecal smear examination pa din. Okay? And then, as for the prevention and control, ganun lang din. For the treatment of choice, praziquantel pa din. Okay? And then, prevention, okay, preventive measurements lang. Okay? Including avoiding ingestion of raw or improperly cooked snails of this parasite. And then, next, we have your heterophyes. The other name of this parasite is your dystoma. Other name to dystoma heterophyes var. Siebold. Kaya nga ang common name niyan is Dwarf Intestinal Flu, also known as your von Siebold fluke. Okay? Now, this minute fluke was first found in Egypt. Okay, from a body of a patient from Egypt by Bilhars during 1851. Okay, it is widely distributed in Egypt, Middle East, and Far East. Okay, now this parasite lives deep in the wall of the small intestine. Now, for the ova of your heterophyes fluke, okay, it is usually minute, napakaliit. Okay, minute, ova, okay, and then usually operculated din yan, okay, light brown in color, measuring about 28 to 30 micrometer by 15 to 17 micrometer, okay, and then the egg contains a fully developed miracidium. Fully developed na yung kanyang miracidium. Okay, so no need for embryonation once na lumabas yan sa external environment. Okay, now as for the adult form of your heterophyes fluke, okay, the adult fluke is usually elongated, oval, or pyriform. Okay. Measuring about less than 2 millimeter in length. Okay. Ayun. And then the tegument has a fine scale-like spines. Okay. And then some species have a gonotile. Gonotile, or ito yung kanilang genital sucker. Now, this gonotile is located near the left posterior border of the ventral sucker. Okay. And then as for the testis is ovoid in shape. Okay, that is located in the posterior fifth of the body. Now, while the ovary naman is globular in shape, which is located now anterior to the testis. Now, let us go over with the life cycle of your heterophyes fluke. Now, by the way, for your Metagonimus yokogawai fluke, same lang kasi sila ng discussion ng life cycle kay Belisario, since pareho lang naman sila ng intermediate host. Okay, so for this one, sabay ko na lang i-discuss. No need to further explanation for the life cycle of Metagonimus kasi pareho lang sila ni heterophyes. Okay, now for the remaining topics of your Metagonimus yokogawai, please reading assignment nyo na lang yun. Okay, now for the life cycle of this parasite, the adult worm inhabits the small intestine of the definitive host. Okay, so they usually inhabits the small intestine of the definitive host. Ganun din kay Metagonimus yokogawai. Okay, now when large amount of eggs are being passed out in the feces, the miracidium will immediately hatch. Okay? So, again, sinabi ko kanina, no need for further embryonation kasi nga, fully developed naman na yung kanilang miracidium sa ova pa lang. Okay? So, no need for embryonation to take place in the external environment. Okay? Now, this miracidium will immediately hatch, okay? And it will swim freely in the water, seeking now for its first intermediate host. Okay, first intermediate host. Hahanapin niya na yung kanyang first intermediate host, which is your Pyrenella conica. Okay, this genus of snail na ito is much common sa more common yan sa Egypt. Okay, and then we also have your Chirithidia cingulate. Okay, now this species of snail naman, mas common naman yan sa Japan. Okay, now once na makapasok na yung miracidium natin sa intermediate host natin, this miracidium will transform into a sporocyst. Magta-transform yan into sporocyst. Okay, giving rise now to cercaria. Okay. Of course, mag-undergo na naman yan ng 2 radial stages. Okay? Producing now its daughter sporocyst. Then later on, finally into cercaria. Okay? Diba? Dami sinabi. Okay? Now, these cercaria are then liberated from the snail. Lalabas na naman yan sa first intermediate host natin. Now, once na ma-liberate siya sa ating first intermediate host, yung cercaria natin, lalangoy na naman yan sa tubig. It will undergo encystation once na makapasok na yan sa second intermediate host natin. This time, ang second intermediate host ng ating heterophyes fluke would be your freshwater fish, mga fish. Okay? Mag-undergo yan ng encystation dun sa muscle, sa fin, or dun sa gills ng fish natin. Okay? It will undergo encystation, transforming now into metacercaria. Now, this time, your metacercaria will be the infective stage for the definitive host. Now, the most clinical manifestations observed were consistent with peptic ulcer disease. Okay? Okay, peptic ulcer disease or acid peptic disease. Okay, so these are the most common, frequently encountered clinical manifestation associated with heterophyes infection. Okay, Now, these manifestations include upper abdominal discomfort, gurgling abdomen, and even abdominal pain. Okay, abdominal pain described as colicky. Okay, yung colicky pain na tinatawag natin. Colicky abdomen. This colicky abdominal pain is a sudden, sharp, localized gastrointestinal pain. Okay, yun ang ibig sabihin nun. It is a sudden, sharp, localized gastrointestinal pain. Now, for the laboratory diagnosis, for the lab diagnosis of your heterophyes fluke, okay, definitive diagnosis is through detection of eggs pa din. Okay? Direct examination in the stool, preferably by using the Cato-Cats method. Cato-Cats kasi, it has a much higher efficiency as compared to your wet smear examination. However, care must be taken to distinguish them from Clonorchis and Opistorchis egg. Okay, so halos kamukha niya lang kasi ang Clonorchis egg and Opistorchis eggs. Okay? And then, ganun din for treatment, praziquantel pa din. And then for prevention and control, thorough cooking of the intermediate host of this parasite.